Hey everybody, how's it going? Thanks for watching. Last week had a little bit of a technical issue. Um, Basically parked in a spot next to a shop where I could use their Wi-Fi as well as be able to have a quiet spot. And right when I started the stream, the Wi-Fi started to die on me, and they started taking wheels off of rigs right next to me. So if you can hear me and the video is good, just let me know in the comments. If you do have any questions, go ahead and throw those in the comment section, and I'll get to those shortly. But what I'm going to talk about today is safety and finding places to park on the road. Um, More recently, there has been a lot more people interested and worried about safety on the road. For those that don't know, there was a couple down that was parking in Texas near Corpus Christi. I've actually boondocked not in the spot they were at, but very nearby, and somebody, you know, basically killed them, took their rig, and went to Mexico. They did find the people that had the rig. I don't know if anything has been figured out, if the people that they caught was the people that killed them. But the fact remains that uh, someone was out boondocking, parking out in the middle of nowhere in the rig. Somebody came up, took the rig, and just killed him. So more recently on Facebook groups and just in the general vicinity of people camping, because right now I'm out in Arizona. There's in the spot I'm at, there's probably 500 rigs out here. So people are definitely talking about it. It's questions people are asking online all the time now about how to be safe on the road. Um, you know, Places where I'm at right now, especially down in Arizona for the winter, being around other people is you're obviously more safe. But if you like getting out there by yourself, like I do, there are some things that you can be mindful of, and just kind of going to cover that a little bit and finding those particular places. So, for example, uh, one thing that I never had was a travel trailer or a fifth wheel. That's basically you have a truck or a van, for the travel trailer, anyways, that you pull your home behind you, and then you have your vehicle. The people down in Texas, they actually had a travel trailer, if I remember correctly. So the tricky part with that in terms of safety is if something happens, say you're in your rig and somebody's outside, a vehicle pulls up, the only way that you're going to get out of there, if you do try and get out of there quickly, you have to get out of your vehicle, you have to get in your truck, and you have to leave. For example, in my bus, if something's going on, I'm able just to jump in the driver's compartment, turn the engine on, and head out. One thing to be mindful of is whenever I am boondocking, I never nose into a spot to where I can't get out. So, for example, I spent a month up in Montana. It was a kind of remote. There was a bunch of people around, so I didn't have to be as mindful. But I would never just drive my rig all the way up to the front of water or a ditch, and I can only back out. The way that I set up the rig in Montana is I went parallel with the water to where I could just go straight and turn left, or I could back up and get out of the spot very quickly. Just because if even in a rig we're able to jump up in the front, if somebody parks behind you and they're wanting to do something, or in front of you, if you have more of an option to either go forward or backwards, it's much better, because then if you need to get out of there quickly, you can just turn the engine on, go straight, go back, you're good to go. Also, just looking up reviews. A lot of times I never go to boondocking spots that I don't find online where people have been there before, and they can talk about the local population, they can talk about different aspects of that area before you even get there. So you have a better idea of what's going to be around you. Uh, Being safe on the road is something when I first started, you never heard of anybody, actually being killed, excuse me, killed and their rig taken, where now, it could just be one-off thing, which I obviously hope it is, but, just being mindful of there are, 95% of people, 99% of people are good out there, but there is that 1%. Depending on how comfortable you feel with firearms, that's obviously a very good deterrent for someone coming into your rig, or it definitely makes you feel better. At one time, I did not have firearms with me. My dog alerted at the door around 1 in the morning, and the place I was parked, I was 30 miles from anybody. Like, it was literally just out in the middle of nowhere. There was nobody else around. At 1 in the morning, my dog went to the door and started growling and barking at the door. Uh, that is not a good feeling to have if you don't have a firearm. And I know people are, different on how they feel about that, but now I do not travel without a firearm, especially the type of camping that I do. Uh, it's just one of the most, I don't know how to put it. You feel very vulnerable without a firearm, especially when you're out in the middle of nowhere. Where now it's easily accessible back in my bed. I'm able to get to it quickly, and just having that feeling to have my dog know something's out there. I mean, whether it be a coyote or a person, when you're out in the middle of nowhere, as the Texas example is, bad things could happen. So obviously get some training on that. There's plenty of training courses around the United States where they teach you general safety of the firearm. They teach you how to shoot it, reload it, clean it, and it's well worth the investment if you are thinking about going out and parking in the middle of nowhere like a lot of the people that I know and a lot of my friends do. I mean, it's great being around all these people, but it is good to get out there by yourself. And if you have a firearm and you know how to use it effectively, and you're not going to hurt yourself, you're not going to hurt anybody else. And obviously, the storage of it, if you have kids around or anybody else in your rig, you got to be mindful. It is a lot of responsibility, but having that safety was well worth it, in my opinion. And I highly suggest, training yourself, learning how to use it properly. Also, pets. Like, I would have had no idea that there was something outside of my rig when I was 30 miles from anybody. If my dog didn't alert at the door. I mean, even if you have a little dog, just a dog that can bark if somebody's coming up to your rig and they know somebody's in there. Like, rigs out in the middle of nowhere are easy targets for people. And if you have a dog, at least that person will know that somebody's actually in that rig. There's somebody in that rig. And, it definitely deters people, because the majority of times you just want to keep honest people honest, right? So that is a advantage to have. Also, with my rig, actually, I have it right up here. I'll show it to you. I have this fog light that's going to go over the door of my rig. It's motion activated. I have 4 of them. So this one's going to be installed right over my driver's door. So if somebody walks up, it just casts a wide light. I will be installing it on my passenger side to cover that corner of the rig. And in the back, I'm going to have it on both sides. So if I am out in the middle of nowhere, these are motion activated. It'll pop on, and I'm able to see anybody or anything that's coming up to the rig. Because when you're out there in the middle of nowhere, no light pollution, and if there is no moon that night, I mean, it's just pitch black out there. And having the ability to turn lights on or have lights come on to see anybody or anything out there is very valuable. It's very, very advantageous to have that. It definitely peace of mind if you hear something out there. And also, these lights, I can just kick them on. They don't have to be motion activated. I can just flip a switch and they stay on. So that is something that you can have. I've also seen people set up car alarms in their rig whenever they're sleeping. So if there's a knock at the door, or if there's any loud noise or whatever, you can actually adjust that to fit your needs. So I'll go into some questions here. If you have any particular questions, be sure to leave them in there. Lexi, kind of off topic, but my roof raise is 21 inches. And it's 12 foot 9 inches, which is the same size of most RVs. Baby Girl Gibbs, what will you be doing for Thanksgiving, and what is your favorite Thanksgiving dish? I'll be hanging out with some nomads for Thanksgiving. Aaron from Broccoli Bus 6, I'll be hanging out with them. My favorite dish is pumpkin pie with ice cream. Hello from Michigan, Chicago, Ohio. Thanks for watching, everybody. Charlotte from Philadelphia, I will definitely stay safe. Um, RR Mar, I would have a gun with me and my dogs. As a woman, is even more advised. Yeah, so the female side of things, I don't have any personal perspective on that, obviously, but I do have a lot of friends who are single solo uh, females on the road. It is completely different as I've aged and matured. I've realized I've tried to emphasize with the female perspective of being on the road, uh, being you know just a little bit more vulnerable, especially if your rig breaks down, you're middle of nowhere. I can see how you like it. It basically puts you in so much more danger if you do find yourself in a bad spot. Whereas a guy, if my tire breaks down, another guy or a group of people, they're not going to really look at me as so much more of a target. And again, as I've matured, as I've moved along with my life, I totally understand how that would be scary for a female. So yes, having a dog, having a firearm, having mace, I think pretty much every single female that I know on the road at least has mace. A lot of them will actually get a dog and travel around with the dog. They'll get medium to large dogs where, I've seen mastiffs, I've seen blue heelers, I've seen German shepherds where they'll actually get the dog to travel with them for safety. But again, I can't really speak to that too much. I don't have that much personal experience. Jimmy Utah concealed carry. Yeah, you can get concealed carry, but I don't have my concealed carry um, just because I don't do handguns. Yeah, Taylor, heartbreaking for the couple. I feel absolutely terrible for their family. They're out there living their dreams, and somebody comes up and does that. Uh, Care more, exterior lighting and a shotgun, posted warning. Absolutely. Um, I'll be putting a new door on the bus. I'm getting a commercial steel door. I'm going to get an NRA sticker on there as well, a dog sticker on there as well. Again, just keeping honest people honest. Uh, I will have a Nest camera system on there as well. So as people actually come up to the rig, they're going to see that they're being recorded, which I think will be very advantageous for me as well. Baby girl Gibbs, did you ever find out what Kobuk was growling at? No, I didn't have lights. And when I say I was out in the middle of nowhere, like there's no lights, there's no road. The only thing I had was my headlights. I did kick them on. There was nothing out there, but I could only see, just a very small degree of what was out there. And, the whole side of the rig, the whole back of the rig, I couldn't see anything. So that's one of the reasons why I got these lights. Just because if the dog does alert at the door, I want to be able to see. So if you are thinking about a rig, these are Sansies, not sponsored or anything. But you can get these motion activated lights anywhere, and any rig that you get, even if you just have a camper van and you're able to put one of these or something similar up over your slide door, even if you go out to let your dog out to use the bathroom, or you're getting out early and it's still dark out, or you're going out late at night, just kick that on before you leave your rig. Just a little peace of mind, be able to see what's out there. Bodie's garden. I have some solar motion lights and magnets. So I put them in different spots in different places. We have 2 dogs. Yeah, that's a pretty solid setup. Jimmy, Julia, Kilmer, pumpkin yummy, my favorite as well. Yeah, pumpkin pie is my kryptonite for sure. Pepperman, hello from Houston, Texas. I love Houston, pretty cool spot. I hope I'm saying your name right here, Sharana. Chris, your information on safety really helps, specifically being alone and traveling for the first time in a Class C, just being afraid to get out there on my own. Yeah, Sharina, so something you can do, and I see a lot of solo female travelers doing this, is you can actually team up with people on the road. Like, I know a lot of single solo female travelers that just travel in caravans, and they'll actually group up together to where there'll be 3 or 4 or 5 rigs. And for everybody watching this, that's a very common thing to actually caravan with people. You meet people you like, you meet up with them on the road. So instead of being out by yourself, you have two or three rigs. So I don't really, in my experience and from what I've uh, heard, I don't hear too many things happening to groups of people. It's usually when people are out by themselves, they're easier targets when they're by themselves. When it's a group of people, you rarely hear anything. I haven't heard anything personally. So that is something that you can look into. I'm here in Arizona. They actually have women's RTR, where it's just a rubber tramp rendezvous, where it's just a group of women. And I think they had 50, 60 rigs of just female travelers that were just hanging out in the desert. And you can make friends with them, and then you can kind of plan things out. Oh, you're going to be in Oregon in June. Let's meet up in June. And they'll hang out for a month or so in June, and they have friends with them where they don't have to worry about being alone. So that's something to look into, finding people on the road you can travel with. Sergio? Sorry, I'm probably butchering names. Hey man, did you ever feel like you were in a situation where maybe you would have felt safer if you had a firearm? Yeah, so I just mentioned that when I was out in the middle of nowhere. There was actually a time in California, because they have different laws, so I didn't have my firearm with me. And somebody was actively stealing my bike off the back of my rig. And I woke up to it, turned on my headlights. They drove off. What woke me up was them cracking the lock. And they did get away with my bike. But it was one of those situations where I realized that for certain laws, I didn't have my firearm with me. And if they tried to get into the rig, I had absolutely nothing with me. I had kitchen knives, right? To where that definitely opened my eyes up to that. And luckily, they just took the bike, perfectly fine, healthy, safe. They take the bike, whatever. But if they did try and get into the rig, I had nothing. So that was an eye opener for me. Uh, this is Sharana, planning a road trip to Florida in a couple of weeks, and I do have two small dogs that sound ferocious when they bark. Yeah, those little dogs, they do like to bark. But yeah, maybe try and meet up with some friends on the road, meet some people on the road, and you guys can travel together. I've found that works really well for people. Uh, Florida allows you to carry a gun without permit when you're camping, hunting, or fishing or hiking. That makes sense. Here in Arizona, it's the Wild West out here. You don't need a permit for a concealed carry, which is pretty interesting. April, my husky would let people in and show them the good stuff and take. Yeah, huskies are pretty friendly pups, but in my experience, when a dog knows something's about to go down, they sense your fear. They sense that you're a little anxious. My dog, uh, with my ex, he's the most friendly dog, but these two guys walked up to her in the middle of a city, and I heard a dog barking, and I didn't know it was my dog because he hardly barks, but he backed her into a corner, and was barking at the guys, and they eventually, moved on. But he's a 95-pound German Shepherd, and when dogs know something's up, they definitely they definitely help things. Regarding cameras, Nomadic Fanatic had a case in which he captured a video of a dude stealing gas from his motorcycle at the back of his RV. He says that he gave the clip to police, but still, yeah, having cameras is good. I need to get my camera system hooked up, but to be honest, in my experience, cops have more important things to worry about than a bike being stolen or somebody siphoning gas. Uh, I had the serial number of my bike. I gave it to the police, and they definitely seem like they could care less about my bicycle. And the fact of the matter is, it makes sense. They are dealing with a lot of stuff. Thanks, Chris. This is Sharina again. Thanks, Chris. I would love to join a caravan. I think it'd be a lot safer and meet more nomads as well. I am a nomad wannabe. Yeah, once you get a core group of friends, text them all the time, hit them up on Instagram, see where they're going. There's a family that's coming to the spot where we're at right now that's going to be hanging out. So there's 3 schoolies here right now. There'll be a 4th probably getting here today. And we always meet up. We always hang out on the road, and I would feel very safe hanging out with 4 friends out in the middle of nowhere. Definitely more safe than out by myself. Bob up. Have you ever been stopped and searched? I need to knock on wood. No, I have never actually been pulled over. Knock on wood again. So that's an interesting thing. I thought for sure, especially with my bus right now, it's not painted. It looks like a Mad Max mobile, and I have never been pulled over in the bus, including in California, which I thought for sure I was going to get pulled over in California. Because legally, with the bus setup with the schoolies, you're supposed to paint at least, I think it's 70 to 80%, depending on the state. And my bus is probably, I guess, the roof raise is gray, and I did a Henry's Tropical roof coating that actually refracts the heat. So the top is white, the side is gray, and the bottom part of it is the school bus yellow. So that could be one scooting by. I max this thing out at 60 miles per hour. It could definitely go 70, 75, no problem, because I have sixth gear unlocked. But I keep it at 60 miles per hour. I always drive slow through cities, so there's really no reason other than a cop's bored. I did mention this to a friend, but the way he put it was cops probably don't want to deal with a school bus. They don't want to have to search it. They don't want to have to deal with this. They just let me scoot on through and no issues. And, I'm towing a car with my bus. It's a nicer looking car, I guess, so maybe I don't really raise as many red flags, but hopefully I don't get searched because it'd be a nightmare having them go through all my stuff. I have nothing in here, but it would just suck to wait on the side of the road as somebody goes through all my stuff. Tater Tot Smith. Yes, we're in Arizona in Quartzsite. Sujiu. Maybe if you have motion activated lights, that will scare them faster. Rather, until you fell anything and wake up, check. Don't worry, you pronounce my name just fine. Cool. Oh, from Ireland. I love Ireland. Might be going back again this year. I went last year. I might go this summer. Bodies. I'm at a farm near the Everglades. If you ever drive through, you have a safe place to park here. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yeah. So, anybody has any other questions, be sure to go through there. In terms of finding safe places to park, as much as I do not like parking at Walmarts, that is a very safe place to park for the most part. You have overhead lights that you can actually park underneath. Most Walmarts have a little safety vehicle that will drive around the parking lot, make sure nobody's breaking in anything. So you have someone who's checking the parking lot, you have plenty of light, and you have a lot of foot traffic around to where, if something's happening, somebody's breaking your rig, you can just start laying on the horn. If you are in a bus or a Class A or Class C, there's a lot of safety there. Parking safety in numbers, that is another thing you can do. And also, not just finding random spots on the side of the road. I have done this to where I am just absolutely exhausted. I'm on a back highway and they have a little pull off. I will park there and just stay there overnight. Try and get out of there early in the morning, but I do sleep a lot. I sleep very lightly, just naturally. In terms of firearms, I do have my firearm out whenever I do park in a spot that's maybe not 100%, just ready to go. And again, I know it's a 0.01% chance of something happening, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. One other aspect to that, if I am on a highway that is in the middle of nowhere and I just get exhausted and I have to sleep for the night, what I'll do is I will lock my tow car, but I'll keep it in the mode for towing. I won't go put it in park. I'll get the tow car ready to where if I do have to get out of there quickly, the tow car is good to go. It's not, there's not going to be anything I have to worry about with that tow car. It's just set and ready to go. So it's just the small things, just like if there was a situation where I had to get out of there quicker and it's time to go, something's not feeling right, you can just hit the road. RR Mar, how about the windows? Can't they just break in? How they do it here in Europe? Yeah, so with my windows, the way my rig's set up, so you can see a window behind me. I have 4 windows up here. That's actually fairly tall. So I'm about 5'9". At the side of the bus, if I put my hand up, it just barely gets on the window. So they'd have to break the window and climb in. Back in the bedroom, it's actually lofted. So there's really no way somebody is going to get in those back windows unless they have a ladder. So again, firearm safety. When I have my dog with me, the dog sleeps on the couch. If somebody goes to that window, he's going to be on the counter trying to go after him. So they have that to contend with. And then I'm back in the back of the bus to where uh, the only entry points are up here. And with the door, the way the door is now, I actually welded on steel bars to where they can't just break the glass and come through the door. The only way they're really getting into this bus, or my big window, is the one that you can see behind me. That's a 3 foot by 3 foot window. So they'd have to contend with the dog, and then I'm in the back of the bus. That's harder to get back into, and again, firearms. So I'm not too worried about that. Michael Kaler, are industrial parks as sketchy as some of them appear to be, or are they safer due to the 24-hour operations? So that's a very, very good question. So what he's saying is a lot of the industrial areas of cities, there's a lot of parking there where the roads are very wide because they have a lot of semis coming through. And a lot of times the semi drivers will actually park there. So you're able to just park on the side of the road in these industrial areas of these cities. I mean, I've seen industrial areas that look like a metropolis downtown. It's super clean. The side of the roads are full of trees and beautiful grass, well maintained. And I've seen industrial areas that are pretty sketchy. Uh, for me personally, I never really hit those up because I typically do rest areas uh, if I'm going through interstates and everything. But kind of the rule of thumb, people that do park in industrial areas, if they get tired and they need to find a place to park, if there are a decent amount of semis there, again, safety in numbers, they will park there. But if it's an industrial area and nobody else is parked there, there's probably a reason nobody else is parked there. A lot of those semi drivers have the same route and they know the good places to park, they know the safe spots. And if a semi driver is not willing to park there, I'm not willing to park there because they know the area. They've been there multiple times. So it's a little bit more tricky because you don't know if you unless you know the industrial area, unless you've been there before. It's really hard to know just to roll into a spot and hope an industrial area is good to go to see if other drivers are there. So that is the counterbalance to that. But industrial areas are definitely a an option. And a lot of times I'll just do rest areas. A lot of my traveling is I'll find a boondocking spot that I really like, and then when I move, I'm using major highways and interstates, and then I'll just stop at a rest area because again, those are patrolled. You see a lot of cops rolling through. There's other semi drivers there, and it's safety in numbers with that as well. Baby girl Gibbs, if I was a cop, I'd pull you over so I could just get a live tour of your bus. Yeah, I've actually wondered if cops would pull me over just to check out the bus, but again, knock on wood, hasn't happened. Bad AM 63 Adams. Also, I found a bus, 16 window, I think, one line, but price is 4,000. Everything works great, they say. Uh, so, real quick about this question. Somebody's asking about a school bus that they found, 16 window school bus. I mean, to be honest, when it comes down to that, I always just say get a mechanic over there, make sure everything's working because uh, oh, it has 188,000 miles. Yeah, I mean, if it's hard to say because you never know how well the school district took care of the bus. 188,000 miles on a Cummins 8.3 or a DT 466. That's not that many miles as long as the bus was taken care of. Just get a mechanic over there and check it out because you said the bus was $4,000, but if the P pump on that's bad or the tires are bad on that bus, that's $3,000 right there for either the tires or the P pump. So that's something to consider. Michael, thank you for the info. You're very welcome. Next way you make your way to Alaska, let us know. Absolutely. Love Alaska. So we're right at a half an hour. If you do have any additional questions, just let me know. This was basically more so about safety on the road and parking safety on the road. Again, when it comes down to it, there's not that much that I hear about people getting in bad situations. One of the solo female girls that I know on the road, there was a drunk guy that was knocking on the door. He thought it was one of his friends, and when he heard the dog, he's like, "Did you get a dog?" like he thought it was his friend. It was just a miscommunication, and she said that he felt really embarrassed because she just had like a little window. She's like, hey, this isn't your friend's rig. And he felt really embarrassed. He apologized profusely. I do think a lot of the people out there are, good people, and they're not going to be bothering you. But, the situation again down in Texas, somebody is out camping, living their dream out on the road, and their rig gets snatched and they get murdered. So you do have to be mindful, and it's just doing the small steps, whether it be adding lighting to your rig, whether you park in a way that you can get out of there quickly. When I was debating on the very first rig that I got after my camper van, I was thinking about a fifth wheel or travel trailer, but I really didn't like the idea of being stuck in my rig if something was happening. I love the fact that if at any point, if I'm parked somewhere and I need to get out of there, I can just hop in the driving compartment, turn the engine on, and get out of there as quickly as possible, because that is your best advantage. And being that I have a 32,000 pound bus, if anybody tries to block me in, they're going to have a pretty a pretty hard time. So I appreciate everybody that's watching. I hope you have a great Thanksgiving. I appreciate your time today, and hopefully this gives you some insight onto how to stay safe on the road and parking on the road. Have a good one, everybody.